Good evening and welcome to an early edition of the Red, Gold, and Bold with the holidays, with the Chiefs playing on Christmas. We're messing everything up. We appreciate you joining us whenever you have time for us. Remember, if you're catching us via the podcast, you can be a part of the conversation in the live stream. We usually do that on Tuesdays at 10 p.m., but with Tuesday night being Christmas Eve, with the Chiefs playing on Saturday, we're going early here on a Sunday night. We've got a lot to cover here. First of all, talk a little bit about what this win means for the Kansas City Chiefs. Also get reaction to the debut of Hollywood Brown as Xavier Worthy becoming a real weapon for the Chiefs. How should the running back carries be split? I know Sam McDowell wrote about that in the Star. How concerning is the offensive line now? Another injury. Jawan Taylor goes down in this one. The latest on the defense is what? Elite? Is that going to come up? I don't know. We'll find out. How big a concern is Chris Jones' calf injury, playing 3 games in 11 days? What does that mean for the Kansas City Chiefs? They're smack dab in the middle of it now. And what are the keys to a win against the Pittsburgh Steelers? We'll also have our predictions. It's coming up right here, right now on the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast.
You are listening to the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Chiefs on planet Earth, breaking down the Chiefs like no one else can. Red, Gold, and Bold is hosted by Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro. Jeff Chadiha is a senior columnist and on-air personality for the NFL Network and NFL.com. Sam McDowell is the sports columnist for the Kansas City Star. Soren Petro is the afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. The Red, Gold, and Bold podcast is proudly brought to you by David Starnes Allstate Insurance, covering all the important things in your world: home, business, life, and even the fun stuff as well. Motorcycle, boat, ATV, you name it. Get with Dave and he'll have you covered. You can give Dave and his crew a call, visit them online, or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Elevate your coverage, elevate your confidence, and drive worry-free. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave. He'll give you peace of mind today for the things in your life most important to you. Now, here are the hosts of the Best Chiefs podcast, Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro.
Very much, Curtis. We do appreciate it. Off and running here on the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast. And Jeff, let's start it. The Chiefs get a win against the Houston Texans. It wasn't necessarily the most pretty thing on earth, but how many Chiefs wins actually have? 27-19. They do win. They do cover. It is still by 1 score. They almost got to 30, still haven't gotten to, beyond 31 points, which is like, I saw it's like no other team that hasn't eclipsed 31 points has won more than like 3 games this year. Just a quick takeaway from this game. What jumps out at you?
Look, I was impressed because of the circumstances, Mahomes' ankle, the quality of opponent, the defense that we're going to see. I thought that what I liked, they did what they had to do. This wasn't a game where they were out there trying to throw the ball deep. We talked about the passing game last week, tinkering with that, trying to get the big shots. They understood what they had to do defensively. I think they came into this game knowing it was going to be a cage match type game, and they played accordingly. So I thought that I liked that about them. I thought there were some things that obviously that weren't good. The defense, I expected more pressure on the quarterback, and they kind of got lit up on the back end until Tank Dell got hurt. But I think overall, when you're getting a win like this in these circumstances, you have to feel good about it.
Yeah. Sam, what jumped out of you?
Yeah, I mean, I expected a much uglier game than what it was. I mean, I didn't think the Chiefs' offense was ugly at all. I mean, look, we haven't said this sentence in a long time. There was a really good development with the Chiefs' offense, and specifically at wide receiver. And it literally might have been 2 years since we said the Chiefs had a really good development, or a full season since we said the Chiefs had a really good development at wide receiver. And I think they had 2. And I know we'll get to both of those in more detail, but just big picture, I can't recall the last times when I wasn't questioning the weapons that Patrick Mahomes was throwing to. I think all season we've had legitimate questions about who's going to get the ball. I mean, Andy Reid at one point after the game said, he's got to have to tell these guys that there's only one ball to go around. He has to remind these guys of this. Like, for the first, I would say since Rashee Rice got hurt, so maybe for 2.5 months, it's been like, who's going to take it? Like, who wants it? And now that he's got to actually decide who gets it, like, this hasn't been a team that's fighting at the bat rack to get their turn. But it looked like that sort of team on Saturday.
Yeah, I business-like is what I would call it. I mean, I thought it looked really professional. Like they came out like, I think we've all, and maybe wrongfully, at least I have. I don't want to put words in anybody else's mouths or anything like that. But I've kind of been waiting for one of two things to happen: either the other shoe to drop and all these close wins to start going the other way, and some of the things that we talk about, the shortcomings, to catch up to them and lose, or for them to put together the little pieces, to turn the 13-0, 20-6. What was the other one? 16-3 leads into ass kickings. And yet again, neither happened. They just kept doing it. But this one seemed much more in control, right? And maybe it was no more in control. Maybe they've been in control. I'm just getting used to it or getting over it. It wasn't a thing of beauty. They didn't have the kind of success along the interior defensive line that they should have had. Like that's where we thought the success for the Chiefs would come from. I think they were more effective offensively than I thought they'd be. They certainly handled the pass rush better. Overall, I think this is a pretty business-like win at a time that's all they need to be doing, right? Is stacking up wins. I thought it was really professional, really efficient is the way I would describe it.
I think the reason you felt that, Soren, just to cut in here for a second, is they didn't lose any quarter in this game. I mean, they won 7-3 in the first quarter. They expanded that lead to 7 by halftime, expanded to 8 by the time the fourth quarter started, and they played it on the scoreboard an even fourth quarter, but they had the ball at the 20-yard line to end the game, and they allowed the Texans 1 yard of offense in the fourth quarter. Like the quarter in which they didn't outscore the Texans actually might have been the most dominant quarter in the game. I think that's why it felt exactly the way you described, business-like, is because there wasn't a moment in the game where you thought they're letting this game slip away. They're getting run over at this segment of the game. Like, it's been a while since the Chiefs didn't have one of those stretches of a game, and they really didn't.
Well, but let's also remember the Tank Dell injury was a big factor in the game. They had tied the score up. That guy was he finished with almost 100-yard receiving in less than 2.5 quarters. I mean, he was having his way, which played a big role in Houston being able to function offensively after that. And so I agree with you that was the Chiefs controlled the game, but that was also because the Texans' offensive game plan was pretty much shot after that. But I do think that there is something to be said for, Sam mentioned the receivers, and we're going to get into that. I think they understood how they have to use their receivers. Like we keep saying this isn't the offense of 4 or 5 years ago, and they understood that maybe a good day for their receivers is going to be 40 or 50 yards. It's not going to be 125 yards. If Travis Kelce can give you 3 catches that move the chains that add to the 30 yards, then that's what this offense needs now. I did think they took a huge step in that direction, understanding that this is not going to be a big play offense. It's going to be a move the chains offense, run the football offense, not make mistakes offense.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Tommy says Juwan Taylor got hurt too, Jeff. Isn't that a wash? I don't think it's about. I don't think Jeff talking about the Tank Dell. I don't think the point. I think Jeff was saying, boy, everything went perfectly for the Chiefs. Yes, Chris Jones went down late in the game. Juwan Taylor did get hurt. Those are all factors. But we're just talking about from. Would anybody say that the Texans got better when Tank Dell went down?
Yeah.
No one would. So it's okay to acknowledge that, right? I think I know Jeff came out and said he was impressed by the Chiefs. Yeah. Right? I don't know.
But sorry, it drives me crazy when people act like it's like a apples to apples conversation. It's like Tank Dell was a big part of their offensive game plan. Juwan Taylor was a part of their game plan, and they had and emotionally that was a big play in the game for them.
That's what was. I mean, all to a fault, I'll say. I mean, just if you're gonna get that, it was a bad injury. There's no doubt about it. But this is the game. This is the game you play. And I think it. Listen, I'll say this. I agree 100% with what you said, Jeff. They were different without Tank Dell, and I think 80% of that was just the football. 20% was I literally was saying to people, I said, "Look, I'm not trying to make light of the injury, but come on."
Oh, I agree with you.
Are we going to have a funeral here?
Yeah.
For even the announcing that was going on. I thought they were over the top in what was happening. Again, there are gruesome injuries, and this one was pretty bad. There's no doubt about it. But just like the way the Texans reacted to it, there has to be, the next man up thing. I think gets overplayed too much. But the Texans need to read a book on it because you've got to move on. You still have a job to do. And I do think it took a lot of wind out of the sails. I think you're right, Jeff. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's more 50% mental as well. But it can't be that big a deal for you. That shows their inexperience as a football team.
Yeah, Joe Mixon was on the bench, like literally trying to talk to C.J. Stroud with a towel over his head. And look, Grant, I agree with you. I'm not trying. I feel for the kid. I'm sorry. I hope he's going to be all right. But I was actually at the Bengals-Bills game when Damar Hamlin. It was almost to that level of reaction.
Yes.
I was like, what? Is he dying out here?
Well, somebody said, are they going to stop the game? Like, what are we doing here? Like, listen, and I don't want to make, I'm not trying to minimize the injury at all, but I'm just saying that, you got to, I think it shows inexperience out of the Houston Texans. I mean,
yeah, I think the point you're trying to make is that, look, Rashee Rice went down early in a game with the Chiefs, at a game they still won. They have benched left tackles mid-game because of performance. Like, game plan adjustment. Jeff's right. This is different than like losing Hollywood Brown in the preseason, for example, when you're like, okay, what's our offense going to look like now before the game starts? It's much different when you've got a game plan going into a game and you lose a significant piece of that game plan. But a major part of football is injuries, and therefore, how do you respond to them? How do you adjust your game plan on the fly? And that was probably the most significant play in the game when you look at the before and after of that. I think they averaged less than 2 yards per play after Tank Dell went down. It undoubtedly was a significant play in the game. But I also think that's part of their issue, and something they need to ask themselves is, how do you respond to stuff that is part of football?
Yeah, they didn't do well. All right, let's talk about Hollywood Brown. What do we think of what we saw from Hollywood Brown, Jeff? It's, again, I would caution everybody. It is simply his first time back, so there's got to knock some rust off and all that kind of thing. Got to get into a groove. But what do you think of his first showing?
I thought he was fine. I thought he was, he looked like he was in decent shape. I thought when he caught his first pass, he was a little bit looked awkward running for some reason. But I thought he was fine. I'm not one of these people who thinks 5 catches for 45 yards is impact. I think he made a contribution. I think they had some plays in mind to get him loose. If you look at the stuff they ran for him, it was a lot of rub route, pick type stuff, bunch stuff where he could get free. So he basically took Noah Gray's production and made it his. And so I think that it's promising. I think that's about how I would rank it.
Okay. Sam?
I'm a lot higher on what we saw from him, because he played 15 routes. He ran 15 routes and caught 5 passes. Like, he was at 3 yards per route in the game. Just to give people like a context, it's an unbelievably small sample size. But that small sample size, like, that would rank second in the NFL this year if you average that over a full season. Like, he was really good in a small sample size. I don't know what more we could have expected from Hollywood Brown. I am really high on Hollywood Brown, and that exceeded my expectations for his first game back. I mean, 35 of his yards were after the catch. And I agree with you on the type of ways that they got him open. But that's the point to me, is they haven't had many receivers that they can say, if we scheme up this play well, who's going to get open? Who's going to create more yardage after the catch? Like, we saw a receiver that, look, I thought Xavier Worthy played really well too, but like, I thought he made a significant difference in the game.
What were the yards after the catch that I'm missing here? The first route was a crossing route.
10 yards after the
wide
catch.
Open. Yeah, but he was wide open.
Why doesn't he get credit? Why doesn't he get credit for being wide open? Do you think
Justin Watson? They got him open.
I mean, listen, I think this is a fair point, because
you think Justin Watson
cannot get that kind of. It does not get separation.
And neither can Justin Watson. Like, does Justin Watson get 12 yards on that route?
I bet he probably does. I bet you're probably.
We haven't seen it all
Justin
year.
Watson. I'm saying, if that's Nico Remigio making that play, we're not having this, a Star is Born conversation.
Well, but
we're not saying a Star is Born. He's had 1,000 yards before, so he caught 5 catches on 15 routes. Like, I just don't know how
he had 45 yards. Sam. He averaged
on 15 routes. On 15 routes.
And 20 came on one route.
What would have taken for you to say he had an unbelievable day? What would his numbers needed in 15 routes?
What Tank Dell
routes?
Did. What Tank Dell did.
He played way more routes.
Yeah.
He ran way more routes in the game than.
Yeah, I mean, Sam's probably going to look it up. I mean, if we see that Tank Dell
24 routes, he ran 24 routes in the game
to 15,
and you think of that in his first game back, like that was the bar for Hollywood Brown in his first game back was 99 yards and a touchdown. I'm saying
anywhere else in this league, if someone catches 5 passes for 45 yards, we're not having this.
No, we're not
on 15 routes.
I'm saying he was fine. I'm saying he was fine.
Yeah,
I thought he was terrific. I thought he was like one of it's.
But you want him to be terrific. But you came in wanting him.
I don't care if Hollywood Brown's a good guy. I've enjoyed the fact that he's been available to me.
Yeah.
Like so in that sense, but like
so maybe there is maybe like
no, come on. I mean, I spend my career as a journalist like being objective. Yeah. Like I'm objective about this. I raise my hand when I've been wrong about opinions. Yeah. Like
you think McCall Hardman can't make that kind of separation?
Yes,
or Kadarius Toney.
I wasn't going to say. I wasn't going to say you wanted. I was going to say maybe there is a someplace in between. I would say I would fall in between the two of you, but much closer to Sam than Jeff, in the standpoint that, listen, I got to be honest with you. For my own, like rooting for my own, and I try to catch myself on this. I call it rooting for your prediction, where you're going out there and you're making statements based upon what you want to be true and not what really is. And so I put that out there publicly so people can call me on it when I'm doing it. So I have my own, anyone who listens to me is my own fact checker and be like, dude, you got to pump the brakes. Like, I think you're just like trying to, and so I like having that out there. And I went into this game terrified he was going to crap in his hat. I mean, I honestly, because I picked him for 1,000 yards. So I went into this game wanting him. I'll tell you flat out, Jeff, I wanted him to do well. I wanted him to do well, as a Chiefs fan. But I wanted him to do, but listen, but I want to be clear. I wanted him to do well for my own, like, I think I know football, and I thought he was going to be pretty good. And so I don't want to look like a fool, right? So I'm just admitting I've got some self-interest in this. But I was impressed. Like, he has not played all year, and he stepped in against a team that's supposed to be good. Like, we sat here, I mean, we can't talk about the Texans defense being better than the Chiefs defense. And then when the guy comes out and runs 15 routes, has 5 catches for 45 yards, one of them a first down on 4th down where he gets wide open and be like, like it's more than right? It's more than just
Yeah. But here's what I'm saying. And I understand what you're saying. All I'm saying, the nuance of it. If you're actually watching the routes he's running, they are designed to get a guy open. It's not because he has some great separation.
All of them? Which ones are
the routes he caught passes on?
Can we tear out the ones that are designed to not get a guy open? Because
throw those out of the playbook.
Yeah. What I'm saying is you're giving him credit for that as if that's an ability thing. That's a scheme thing. And I'm not saying he's going to be some bust. All I'm saying is this happened with Xavier Worthy in week 1. And we had this big discussion about how great Xavier Worthy was because he caught a touchdown pass, he ran a touchdown pass, and I kept saying, yeah, because nobody was in his way. He was wide open. And then as the season went on, we started seeing challenges for Xavier Worthy. I'm saying the same thing about Hollywood Brown. It's Andy Reid is a master at designing plays, getting guys open. He did it for this guy. But the idea that he's something more than
is he more than DeAndre Hopkins?
No.
Is he? Look,
no.
Actually, point.
Hopkins is a better receiver.
But your point there just acknowledged he had a great day because you said that, hey, Xavier Worthy had this great opener, and therefore everyone expected that from him moving forward. The days are going to get harder. No. Like, my point is he had a great day. I'm not saying he's going to have 100 yards next week or the week after. I'm saying in 15 snaps, I could not have possibly expected better production from him.
All right, let's try to quantify it this way. How much better are the Chiefs with him? How much better did the Chiefs get? Sam,
I think they're about the same. I think he replaces somebody else's production. And so
who was
Noah Gray? Noah Gray had 1 catch. Noah Gray was having like 5 catches for like 60 yards and a touchdown. He had 1 catch.
Not every game Noah Gray was.
Has there been his best? Has there been a single game this year where Noah Gray has averaged 3 yards per route run?
What are you talking about with these averages? I'm talking about straight stats. He caught 5 passes for 45 yards.
It doesn't matter how much a guy plays. Like, it just totally irrelevant. His production just doesn't, like, why not just quantify his whole season then?
If
like,
you're a running back and you go in and they hand you the ball 5 times, they made a point of handing you the ball 5 times. As a receiver, he went in and Andy Reid said, I'm going to get this guy. He's the featured receiver on this route.
Okay, so how about this? Noah Gray's career high in yards after catch in one game is 25. Marquise Brown just had 35 in one game.
And
His first game ever with the Chiefs.
I'll point this out. Noah Gray last week against Cleveland with no Hollywood Brown, 1 catch, 15 yards. The week before against the Chargers, he had. Oh no, I'm sorry. Hang on, I was looking at that wrong. He had 5 for 21 against Cleveland, 5 for 26 against the Chargers, 6 for 58 against Vegas, 4 for 66 with 2 touchdowns, 5 for 23 with 2 touchdowns before that, 2 for 18.
You're looking at targets.
I am looking at targets. I'm sorry.
Noah Gray has not caught 5 passes all year.
He has not caught 5 passes all year. Sam's right. Yeah, I'm sorry. Just to correct.
What's his high?
2 for 21 and 1, 4 for 26 and 0, 4 for 58 and 0.
Okay.
You know, I mean, like there's
okay. I see. Yeah.
There is a point to what I understand. There's only one football and only one person can catch it, but. And I don't know that Hollywood Brown or Noah Gray is going to be the guy, but this gives them another option. It gives them another type of receiver.
I totally agree with that.
Matches.
A better option.
Okay.
I totally agree with that.
Okay. Yeah. So then I think Jeff just wants to see more and is not blown away by it. Sam, you're more impressed by it. I'm more impressed by it. Yeah. But overall, we would all agree.
Sam's got him in the Ring of Honor right now.
No, I agree with you that I'd like to see more, but like to discount, you've got to be able
banging the drum.
You've got to be able to separate what he did there versus the prediction for what it means for the future. What he did on Saturday has to exceed all of our expectations. If you go into the game saying he's going to make zero impact on the game, and in 15 routes he gets 45 yards, including 3 first downs, like that has to exceed your expectations of having no impact on a football game.
You know what impacted the football game? The offensive line. That's what impacted the football game.
Okay, well, we will get to that here in a minute. But how much better do you think how much more productive do you think he can be, Sam? Like as he gets more reps, as he knocks the rust off. How encouraged are you? I think we're getting back to a guy who can be a 1,000-yard receiver had he played the whole year. You still see that kind of upside?
I still have doubts whether or not he can take on like a 75% workload or something like that. I mean, I think we have to – I don't think that this can be the sort of thing where you're like, okay, on 4 days later on Wednesday, he's ready to just be a number 1 wide receiver, or even by week 18 that he's ready, or even the playoffs, because that doubt about his injury history has to stick in your mind, in which case, like, I don't know that we're going to see him get even 45 yards this next week. And I do think that the offense looks different with Hollywood Brown on the field. Having said that, like we have seen instances in which it certainly matters the experience that you have playing with Patrick Mahomes. We're starting to see that finally with Xavier Worthy, that the experience is finally starting to have an impact. This guy's played 1 game with Patrick Mahomes. He played training camp with him, which matters, but he's played 1 game with him. So yeah, I mean, I think it's totally fair to wonder, we're going to see these connective type of plays, you know, where you do have these option routes, the zone stuff. This was a man-heavy team. And I think there's questions about scheme, and certainly if he's going to have these big days consistently. But I do think I have to raise my expectations for Hollywood Brown based on how he looked on Saturday.
Let me ask you guys this. When Juju Smith-Schuster had 7 catches for 130 yards back when his second game here, what were your expectations for him?
You talking about 2 years ago?
I'm talking about this.
No different than what they were going.
I will fess up to being. I was like, wow, they understand how to manage his knee. He can be better. I mean, I was not thinking he was going to be what he was the first time around, but I thought he would be more than he has been. I would say that I swallowed the hook a little bit more. Now, again, I didn't think he was going to be a star. I didn't think. I'm more encouraged by. Let me ask you this: So we now see what Juju's been, but is this more encouraging or less encouraging than that Juju's? For me, it's more encouraging.
No, the point I'm making is Andy schemed up Juju. You said he schemed up Hollywood for this. Now, I think Hollywood will be a good player in this offense. I'm not saying – I just don't have this – if he had gone out and did what Juju did, I'd be sitting here saying, yeah, that's pretty impressive. But you do 5 for 45, I'm going to say that's fine.
Okay. We're proudly brought to you by our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete and David Starnes Allstate Insurance. David Starnes Allstate Insurance, serving the Kansas City area and all throughout the Midwest. With David Starnes Allstate, it's not just about fender benders. Beyond traditional safeguards, enjoy perks like roadside assistance for unexpected breakdowns, transportation expense coverage when your car is in the shop, auto replacement protection to keep you on the road in style, and much more. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized, full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Parking lot problems? They've been making them disappear in KC since 1994. Don't risk accidents and liability in your parking lot. Get your lot restriped today. A brightly striped lot will cut down on accidents and keep your lot as safe as possible. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Let's talk Xavier Worthy. What kind of weapon is he becoming? The combination of Hollywood Brown, that seemed to at least be a good fit for one game. Sam, what kind of weapon do you see Xavier Worthy evolving into now at this point in the season?
Yeah, well, he's been a significantly better player over the last 5 weeks than he was the first 10. And look, I think all of us thought that whether or not, your bar was up here for Xavier Worthy, whether or not your bar was here, you at least thought that there was going to be improvement late in the season. Matt Nagy said today when I asked him about him that he said it's so similar to Rashee Rice last year that it's crazy. I don't think we're going to see that same sort of impact on the game that Rashee Rice had on last year. First of all, I think the Chiefs have better options aside from Rashee Rice than they have than last year than this year. But watching the film Saturday, I mean, I can see where he's coming from in the sense that Xavier Worthy was open a lot. In fact, Patrick Mahomes, I thought, missed him 3 times. And by missed him, I mean twice he didn't throw to him, another time he does miss him. And I think what's most notable about this is all the accolades you want to throw at Xavier Worthy just on Saturday, none of it has to do with him just running wind sprints up and down the field. Like, his route tree was significantly different than I think it has been most games this year. It just has been over the past 3 weeks or so. All 7 catches he had were within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. 61 of his 65 yards were after the catch. Like, there was some adjustment pre-snap that he made on his own after recognizing coverage. There was some adjustment, I think, in his actual route running. He's become a better player than what he was. I don't think we're going to see 11 targets on a regular basis for Xavier Worthy. But the fact that we're finally being able to noticeably see that he's a better player, I think makes me more optimistic for his. And look, he's coming right along. Like, I think before the year, I had him at 700 yards. I mean, he's at 550. Like, this is not that far off to where I think the reasonable expectations were for him. But that did entail, there being some late season improvement, that it wasn't just going to be 30 yards per week. It was, going to have some stinkers. And then by the end of the year, you need to become a reliable option to where at least the quarterback can trust where you're going to be on any given play. And I think that part is what's getting there.
Where's your confidence meter, Jeff, when it comes to Xavier Worthy?
As far as what, developing or where he's at right now?
I just like becoming a legit weapon, becoming someone that creates problems for defenses.
I think he's been a legit weapon. I just think he's limited in what he can do. I thought he had a nice day. I thought he had more impact than Hollywood Brown.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Yeah.
And I think they made a point of an interesting point of targeting him in this game, making him a bigger factor than Hop or Kelsey. And I've been saying for weeks that he probably is the key to their offense being more than what it is because he's fast. I'm just curious to see how that plays out over time as people decide to cover him differently. I look back at that Buffalo game when he started out. He had like 4 catches for 65 yards and then disappeared. And then they made a point, we're taking this guy away. Like, can he be a guy who can do that throughout the course of a game? I'm not sure of, but I do think this is the kind of game where Hollywood Brown, where Xavier Worthy, the way they play coverage, you saw Samaje Perine too being a factor in this too. The routes they were going to run, a lot of man beaters to open things up to get guys free. That was going to play more to these guys. Like, I agree with Sam. I don't think he's going to have this kind of game every game moving forward, but I think that was a good step forward for him.
Even with the press coverage, Jeff, like you thought that this would be a good. I mean, this is obviously the best expert of the three of us on that specific aspect of it. I mean, against this press coverage, man-to-man stuff, you thought that this could be a good matchup for Xavier Worthy?
I think they thought that. I think they thought they could craft plays. And again, it happened with Samaje Perine and a couple big, get out of the backfield, up the field type plays where they just ran a lot of traffic. Guys got caught in the wash. That's hard to deal with if you're, and they're very precise with that stuff. That's one of the things they do really well. And so, yeah, you weren't, and it's also why you didn't see Hopkins or Kelsey doing that kind of stuff, because it's easier to run that kind of stuff with guys who are going to the outside of the perimeter. And so, yeah, I thought he did well. Again, it wasn't amazing, but I thought the thing that the catch he didn't make on the sideline in the end zone, I thought was an impressive catch, even though his feet didn't stay in bounds, because it showed some toughness and some awareness.
Yeah.
So I think that's something you could expand upon as well.
So I expect you to talk only about one route that he had.
Who, me?
Yeah, I expect you to talk about one specific route with Xavier Worthy. What is
the one he doesn't get his feet in?
No, the slant. How could you not talk about the slant?
Trust me, it was a big deal at my house when it happened. Like everyone knows my passion for the slant, and there was a big cheer that went up at my place with everybody watching the game. How about this one though, Kimbo? Are y'all going to talk about him not getting his feet down again? Right? I mean, the negative side, Sam. What do you want to say about that? A couple of people said, "Hey, that's Pat." I think RJ said that's on Pat again. It was his fault. I mean, what? He's still a work in progress, I think, is the big picture.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
I think
that's a tough play, right?
They caught the ball in traffic.
Yeah.
That's wide open.
I actually think that some people are missing the point of that play, and along with the slant and that pass both to me have the same indication, which is Patrick Mahomes trusts his receiver. Like that, Patrick Mahomes put that ball in kind of a dangerous area when he throws that ball to the end zone, and it's single coverage with a guy who's a top 10 cornerback in the league versus Xavier Worthy, who is my size. And the slant's the same way. Like, you're trusting that that's going to be the get off on the line of scrimmage is going to be on time. Like, that's why those plays were significant to me, is because they both speak to that trust that Patrick Mahomes, I don't think, had early in the season with Xavier Worthy. Yeah.
And that play opened up because they had Kelsey going to the sideline on kind of a flat route, and the safety was looking at him, and all of a sudden Worthy's running by him. It opened up for that reason.
Yeah, what I like is we're seeing different kinds of routes, right? We're seeing a complete receiver, right? You mentioned like he's not just a gadget play. We're seeing him do all the things you want to see a wide receiver do, and I think that's important. How about the running backs? How do you split the carries, Jeff? Who's the better back right now? Certainly in this game, Kareem Hunt more effective, 5 yards a carry, 11 for 55 and a touch. Pacheco 9 for 26. I was giving Sam some grief about one of the times they went for it and get into the personnel side of things. I know he wrote about that, but what was your reaction to how they use the running backs and how they should going forward?
Well, I like that Pete was a part of the mix, and obviously in the passing game, they threw to Kareem a few times. I don't really think I get caught up in who's getting the bulk of the carries. I think the important thing is they're actually calling the plays. And I'll go back to the point I made at the start of this, is that I think they recognize in this game, we're going to have to deal with their pass rush by being more physical at the line of scrimmage. We're going to have to run the football, and running football is going to open up some of these things on the outside for Hollywood and Xavier Worthy, and we're going to play it that way. And the quarterback, probably was compromised enough that they understood, and probably he understood too, why we have to play within the structure of this. Like, I didn't see a lot of outside the structure type stuff happening in this game. It was very much, this is what we're running, this is why we're running it, and this is why it's going to work. And so I thought that when it came to the running game, they just realized that this is probably a better game for Kareem to be running in than Pacheco, and let's just ride with him.
Yeah. Sam, how did you view the running back usage?
Yeah, for the most part, to what Jeff said, I don't agree. I don't care who runs the ball. I think it's more about the offensive line. I do think both of these guys are a little bit slow to hit the hole. But there's one, and this is what you referenced, that I had put in the 5 things I write about after the game, is that Kareem Hunt has to be the short yardage guy. Like, there's no excuse to have Isaiah Pacheco in on back-to-back plays on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 if you're going to be handing the ball off on 3rd down and 4th down. Kareem Hunt is as good as anybody and people know that I have been critical of Kareem Hunt. He is as good as anybody in the league at short yardage. There's been 16 times where he's gotten the ball on 3rd and 1 or 2 or 4th and 1 and 2, and he's converted 14 of the 16. Like, anytime you get a play on short yardage that has an 87% conversion rate, you have to use it. And instead they go to Pacheco back-to-back plays, and he's 4 out of 10 now on those plays this season. Like, there is a significant gap in this, how successful those two players are at that very specific thing. Because, like, Kareem Hunt's best strength as a running back, for all of his faults, are that he does not lose yardage. Like, he doesn't break a lot of tackles, but the first contact, he usually gets a yard or two past it. It's exactly what you need on short yardage. So I don't care who runs on first down, who runs on second down. I agree with you guys. Perine needs to be the guy on 3rd down on these, pass protection, these 3rd and medium to 3rd and long situations. But on 3rd and short or 4th and short, like, there's no reason to have Kareem Hunt on the sideline there.
I was yes on Hunt, short yardage. So obvious. Why doesn't Reed get it? And listen, that seems like, well, who are we all to question a 3-time Super Bowl champion? But I agree. Like, I don't know what it's like. He has this vision that every running back is, we can do anything with any running back, right? Like, we have the offense, and you got to be able to do it all. You all got to be able to catch the ball and everything. Well, then why don't you play Samaje Perine? Right? You clearly have this like little niche for Samaje Perine. I don't know why that doesn't extend to the short yardage. And I like Kareem Hunt. I think he feels like he's still got to trick people, but like, you can't trick people on the short stuff, right? Yes, you can, have a variance of spin the quarterback clear around. We don't know which direction he's going to hand off to, but for the most part, it's just bully ball. Well, put your bully, put the ball in the hands of the bully when you're going to go short yardage. I don't understand why, get the right tool for the job. It's Kareem Hunt. Like, he brings a thump. He has a forward lean. He always seems to be falling forward. I don't know why you would give the ball to anybody else.
And he's probably better with Joe Thuney playing left tackle, to be honest with you, because Pacheco's probably not going to get the kind of holes and creases that he's used to getting that allow him to make the big play, whereas Hunt understands. I'm getting contact.
Yeah.
I got to run through it.
Yeah. I think it's a fair point. Listen, you can always support the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast by supporting our great sponsors like our friends at Northland Injury Law. Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyers, serving KC for more than 40 years, voted Kansas City's #1 accident lawyers, helping people with serious injuries from car accidents, work accidents, falls, and other personal injuries. Northland Injury Law doesn't get paid unless they get money for their client. Don't wait, get compensated now. If you have a case, text HURT to 22222. That's HURT to 22222, or call 816-400-HURT. That's 816-400-4878. The choice of a lawyer is an important one and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Besame Wellness for all your cannabis needs. With fast, easy, and discreet delivery, you can enjoy the same deals you enjoy in-store, but delivered to your home or office. Even same day. Restrictions may apply. Any questions? Let Besame's top-rated customer service team assist you. And this Chiefs season, don't miss a minute of the game with no delivery fees on game days. And when the home team wins, so do you. Use promo code 3PEAT and receive some extra free goodies with your next Besame order. Don't forget, you can still use promo code podcast25 to save 25% on your entire order for online delivery or at any of their 5 area Besame locations.
All right, guys, both of you have referenced the offensive line. Let's get there right now. Let's start with Jawaan Taylor. Jeff, how concerning is Jawaan Taylor leaving with a knee injury?
Well, I didn't know when it happened or see it happen. So I don't know if I walked away and came back, but all of a sudden Wanya Morris was playing right tackle the rest of the game. But I think it's pretty apparent that Jawaan Taylor is a better player than Wanya Morris. I thought Wanya Morris handled himself well in that situation. But if you're asking me if I want to see Wanya Morris playing a full game at right tackle for this team, if I'm a Chiefs fan, I wouldn't feel comfortable with that. So, yeah, I think it's a big deal. And Jawaan Taylor's not one setting the world on fire either. But I think the more you're putting backups on the field, and I know that it's hard for some people to understand this when it comes to the Chiefs. It's true of any team. The more you're putting backups on the field, the more compromised you are as a team. And so if you're playing guys that you think are first-level players, starters, and you're losing those guys, it's going to be a problem over the long term. You can resolve it in the short term, but in the long term, if you're talking about him, handling TJ Watt or Alex Highsmith this week, I'm not confident in that in any way.
Okay. What did you? Well, first of all, let's talk about Juwan Taylor. Level of concern, Sam.
Well, to me, I think the biggest thing is it's one more thing that could be in the quarterback's mind whenever he's dropping back is, oh, who's playing right tackle now? I don't even know that part of the equation. I thought Wanya Morris played the best he's looked this season. And if people are interested, like Nick Jacobs posted a clip that had all of his snaps on it, which you can get on Next Gen. But I hadn't seen that version of Wanya Morris at all at left tackle. And I wonder if it speaks to the fact that when you start a game at left tackle, we talk about Wanya Morris starting left tackle. He knows everyone's talking about him playing left tackle. I'm sure it's a conversation in that facility to where he knows all the eyes in the world are on him. There's all the pressure in the world on him when he goes in and starts a game. When he just gets subbed into the game, like because the situation has forced his entry into the game, and he's got to play right tackle, and he thinks even if it's mentally that there's not as much pressure on that position, and he's technically the backup in that game. I think it speaks to the fact that a lot of what Wanya Morris and to the same extent Kingsley Suamati have gone through this year is a mental battle. I mean, I don't think he's an all-pro right tackle, even if he's, is so good mentally that he could coach a course on it. But I do think it matters in this game. And I think we've seen the effect on the pressure getting to their two young tackles this year. And that just seemed like a less pressure situation to him.
Yeah. By the way, DJ Humphries, no practice. The other Juwan Taylor, limited practice when it comes to the offensive line. So they're at least trying to get Juwan Taylor out there.
I thought you told us he was missing one game, DJ Humphries, a couple weeks ago.
I said he's definitely missing one game. They're hoping to get him back for the second game. They would like that. I think he'll be back for the third game. And then I'd be surprised if he's not back for the fourth game if they need it. So this game, yes, I would say that DJ Humphries did not practice. I think is behind the timeline. I think there was optimism that he could get back for Houston. That quickly went away. But I think, yes, things are not progressing the way I think they would hope. Do you agree, Sam?
Well, I just want to give people they didn't practice today. They have to release an injury report that's like an estimation. If they had held practice, what would this guy have done? And that's where they were. I mean, DJ Humphries, I think his it's hamstring, right? I mean, I think it's come along a little bit slower last week.
He's been out at practice doing stretching.
He jogs around. Yeah. And look, to give people the other context, we get to see just the first 5-minute window. Like, we don't see practice. This is just stuff that I've been told. Like, he's out there jogging around, and they're working on trying to see. I mean, it's basically about how whether or not he can deal with how quickly he can get back in his drop and that quick fire with his muscles. But this is what should be the expectation when a guy hasn't played in 50 weeks, that he's not going to snap back into it when an injury could perhaps be more severe when you haven't used those muscles in a really long time.
Yeah. I don't know if there's panic, but I would say that from the initial estimation, he is a little bit behind where they would have hoped he'd be.
Man, I'm just giving you a hard time. You were very much like,
proclaiming. I think it's fair. I restated exactly what I said. He would be out the first game. The second game, they would hope to have him back. By the third game, I think they feel confident that he'll be back. That third game is Pittsburgh, and it does not look like they're confident he's going to be back. So I would say that it's behind what the initial read was when it first happened. That's, but are they panicking? No, he is out there. He is going out. Like, if he wasn't out there, then you'd have bigger concerns. But I mean, I do think they may have gotten to this point and said, like, Joe Tooney's at left tackle right now. I mean, let's just bring the whole offensive line in. I mean, there's one bridge to go, right? Like, whatever the hell it takes. I mean, what do you have to do to get by Pittsburgh? Can you beat Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh, I don't think it was that impressive against Baltimore. I mean, how do you handle the offensive line? I think they may have gotten to this point, and maybe they would be pushing him more had they lost to Houston or had they lost somewhere low.
Do you view it that way as one bridge to go? I guess I view it differently just because he's only played 40-some snaps in this offense ever. And I view it a little bit differently than like, hey, just get to the number 1 seed. Like, I think he needs regular season playing time.
I think they would love to. Yes, I think they would love to. But I think at this point, as fragile as they are, and especially with Juwan Taylor nursing his knee, I think they're like, we just have to try to get everybody that we can to the postseason as healthy as we can. And we'll deal with the rust that we have to deal with, because I think If Juwan Taylor hadn't gone down, then yes, I think you'd like to knock something off and maybe say, well, okay, we're going to play him a little bit more against the Broncos. And maybe the Bronco game doesn't matter, and maybe they still do that. We know they can't sit everybody. They don't have enough offensive linemen to sit everybody. But I think at this point, you're starting to take on enough water that you can't screw around. Like you need bodies. You need as many of the big boys ready to go. And a rusty DJ Humphries is better than no DJ Humphries.
Yeah, and I asked Andy Reid on Friday. I said, "Is the plan, or Thursday? Is the plan for you guys still, if you're at your best, to have DJ Humphries as your starting left tackle?" And I mean, he doesn't answer yes or no to that type of stuff. But when you know him, his answer is yes. Like that is still their plan. But my point is, like, let's say he doesn't play against Pittsburgh because the practice estimation, like we said, did not have him practicing today if they had held one. Let's say he didn't play against Pittsburgh and then they win the game. They clinch the number 1 seed. And therefore, Patrick Mahomes is not playing against Denver. Are you playing him in the playoffs if he's only played half of a game, 3/4 of one game with Patrick Mahomes in his life?
Yes, I am.
I'm not.
I him over him versus Wanya Morris.
I think,
or him versus Frank Caliendo. What are we asking?
With Joe Tooney and keep Caliendo.
Mike Caliendo.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mike.
It's funny either way, right? Sam's asking the question.
I know, that's what I'm asking you, Sam. Which is the question? Are you asking me like?
Yeah, I'm asking you the Joe Tooney option. The Texans lineup that we just saw, or DJ Humphries at left tackle.
DJ Humphries at left tackle and Joe Tooney at left guard.
Here's why I like the Tooney option, because I think it forces them to play more in a style that's conducive to them having success. I think the ball came out a lot faster in this game, probably than any time all season. I think even the deep shot they took to Justin Watson was a quicker throw. And so there just wasn't that. I think it was drilled into Mahomes and it was drilled into the team. This is how we're going to play. And we're not going to put him in a bad situation where he's going to have to be hit by a lot of people. Get the ball out and we'll take our 5 yards a catch and run the ball and get out of here.
All right, let's talk some defense when we come back. First of all, we're brought to you by our friends at David Starnes Allstate Insurance. David Starnes Allstate Insurance. Elevate your coverage, elevate your confidence, and drive worry-free. Covering all the important things in your world. Home, business, life, and even the fun stuff, as well as your motorcycle, boat, ATV, and you name it. Get with Dave, and he'll get you covered. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations, North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave today. He'll give you peace of mind for the things in your life most important to you. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Let Gann educate you about the most cost-effective way to solve your parking lot problems. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews. Every project comes with a written warning. Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. All right, Chris Jones, what do we think? Losing him to a calf injury. You mentioned the practice report. At the practice, he would be a DNP. Sam, how important is this?
Well, I mean, it's the only time that their defensive line can create pressure is when Chris Jones is part of the equation. Even if he's not the guy creating pressure, it's usually because he's getting extra attention. I will say George Karlaftis has had his best 2 games the past 2 weeks. The most pressures that he has in any game this year is 7. That was last week. The second most he's had in any game is 5. That was this week against the Texans. So I do think there's getting better production from George Karlaftis than what they have been, but it hasn't worked that great with Chris Jones. If Chris Jones can't play, like, I can't imagine it's going to work great without him.
What's it look like without Chris Jones for you, Jeff?
I'm in the same boat. I mean, he is the most important player on the defense. He's probably the second most important player on the team. If he can't play, that's a seismic loss. And I go back when this whole thing started, I said, these 3 games, somebody's getting hurt. And now you're starting to see guys getting banged up. And it's just, that kind of injury, even if it's not a severe thing, to be able to go out and play at his size, the way he plays, we're not talking about like, who was Sam Adams, 350-pound defensive tackle for the Ravens, back in the 2000s, who just stood there and just took up space. Like, this guy is supposed to be explosive and dynamic in his movements, and you take that away from him, Russell Wilson is sleeping a lot easier at night.
Can they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers without him, Sam?
Yeah, I think they can. But to Jeff's point, Andy Reid said something a couple of weeks ago to me that was pretty interesting, which is somebody asked him if he would rest players ahead of I can't remember which game it was, but I think it was at the start of this 3 games and 11-day streak. And his answer was, not this game. And I thought he's basically saying, if he's on the fence about somebody and they're playing their 3rd game in 11 days, he's probably going to side with giving them the week. And somebody also asked him, I think it was Rob Collins for Fox 4, asked him after the game, what do you think about playing 3 games in 11 days? And his answer basically was, I'm not going to get fined here. And Andy Reid is an over-the-top support the league kind of coach. Like, if the league has lost Andy Reid on this issue, it's something they need to evaluate. Because, by the way, I know a lot of people think this is a Chiefs thing, that they're the team that has to play these 3 games in 11 days. 10 teams have to do it this year. Like, the league is doing this to a lot of teams, because a lot of teams play Monday, Sunday, Thursday this year. 6 other teams have to do that. And I think the league needs to ask themselves, if they're going to fine Isaiah Pacheco a full game check over player safety, whether or not this is in their best interest of player safety.
The players have to stand up for it too in a collective bargaining agreement.
Absolutely,
not just fritter it away.
You're totally right.
All right, so what do we think? Chiefs Steelers. What are the keys, Jeff? What do you think this game is going to look like?
I think it's just like the last game. I think it's a line of scrimmage game, and it comes down to who wins those battles up front. I've gone back and forth about it because the Steelers, they played the Ravens without Deshaun Elliott, their safety, and Dante Jackson, a corner, and then Joey Porter got hurt. So I think those first two guys are coming back, but Porter could be out, so they're going to be dinged in the secondary. But then if Chris Jones isn't playing and George Pickens is coming back for this game, I think that helps their offense. I don't like to – I'll probably pick the Chiefs just because I picked them to lose the last game, but I certainly feel like if they're going to lose a game, this is the one they're going to lose. So I'll take them winning it 17-14, but I don't feel good about it.
Okay, Sam?
Look, I mean, you guys know that I haven't been nearly as high on the Steelers as what their record was initially. I don't think they're as good of a team as what the record shows. But their matchup-wise, like, the things the Steelers do the best is they put pressure from the outside. And the Chiefs have given up pressure from the outside to not great edge rushers. These are 2 really, really great edge rushers. So that matchup is certainly concerning. And the other side of the ball, Russell Wilson has not looked great without George Pickens, but he has George Pickens. So if I'm Steve Spagnuolo, I'd say, I'm going to take that guy away. He's not a guy that likes to double team a lot of individual players. So I don't know whether McDuffie travels with Pickens. I would be inclined to do that because CJ Stroud's whole game plan was, let me find out where cornerback 2 is and throw at that guy all day. So I agree with Jeff that I can certainly see an argument for the Steelers winning this game. But I said this last week going into the Houston game, I think if you anticipate an ugly game, that the Chiefs have won a lot of it this year. And so I'm going 2016 Chiefs.
I think the Steelers are a team that did peak a little bit earlier. I think they're extremely well coached. I think Mike Tomlin does a great job, and I think their record was better than who they were as well. We did this several weeks ago. I picked the Ravens to pass them and win the division. I still think that will happen when it's all said and done. The Steelers finish up with the Bengals for their final game, and I think that's going to be a tough one for them. I think it's going to be really interesting to see who the Chiefs bring, but I think all the things that are being, all the hand-wringing that's going on from a Kansas City perspective, that's going on in Pittsburgh too. They've got to turn around and do the same thing. They're playing the 3rd game in 11 days. And when in doubt, take the better quarterback. Right now, that's Patrick Mahomes. When in doubt, I'll take Andy Reid in any kind of unique situation. He's fantastic at dealing with the different shorter weeks. I love Mike Tomlin, but I think this is just this comes down to who's the better coach, who's the better quarterback, because I think it's a lot of, we're just going to go out and play some playground ball here. And I'll take my chances with Patrick Mahomes in that one. And I do think the offense is clicking. And I think there are some pieces here that are going to create some problems for the Steelers. So I'll take the Chiefs. I'll take them 24-16. I'll go 24-16 Chiefs. I think they get it done again, and then they sit everybody for a couple of weeks, and we start talking about rest versus rust. Remember, hit that like button, love button, share the podcast with your friends. It don't cost nothing, but it helps us a lot. Also support our sponsors. Our great sponsors are how we bring you the Red, Gold, and Bold, like David Starnes Allstate Insurance. Give David and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. No commissions, in-house crews. Every project comes with a written warranty. Kansas City's best for more than 30 years. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com. Our friends at Besame Wellness, use promo code podcast25 to save 25% on your entire order. And, of course, Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google. 5-star rated personal injury lawyers serving KC for more than 40 years. Voted Kansas City's #1 accident lawyers. It's Northland Injury Law. Text HURT. That's HURT, H-U-R-T, to 22222. For Jeff Chadiha from the NFL Network and NFL.com, Sam McDowell from the Kansas City Star, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Red